Hey, what's up, Arnie?
Here's our participants.
Allie.
Andy.
Hello.
All right, so we got a few people popping on. Greg Eason is on here. Jennifer
Awesome.
popping in from everywhere now.
Are we global? I want to be global.
We are global. We have some
Awesome.
Dublin in here.
Woo.
Wow, you make friends fast.
I know. Mark Lancaster's on here. Superman.
I love it.
We got several different companies represented already. We'll give it a couple more minutes.
Yeah,
Nice.
A few minutes before our start time. Arnie, how you been, man?
been good, brother. Been working on Better Book Club, which is our newest thing. Been working on creating this presentation. It's my first ever webinar, so Allie and I had to triple overtime to get it wrong. Hey, look, my shirt's backwards from Allie's. I just noticed that.
It's not.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. See, that's how bad we are at this. We wore opposite shirts.
This is gonna be the best webinar that we've had so far. So
This month.
Ooh.
absolutely no doubt. I've seen the presentation at least 10 times. And,
Oh, we have new material. We made up some stuff.
all right, cool.
To see if we could trip some people up a little bit. I see an eyeball to your. There we go.
Yeah, that's Leah bouncing.
Leah.
This is very informal.
I should have worn my Petra shirt and made you wear a wrong shirt.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah, I feel I did wear black though, so
Yeah. Hey, you're a beautiful man, Andy. Don't anybody tell you different.
thank you, brother. I love
Yeah.
you. Were you headed anywhere this week? You guys in town all week?
I'm headed to Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, for a presentation on Thursday. Never been there. Very excited. You ever been there?
Not to Halifax.
It's fun to say Halifax, by the way. If you've never said Halifax, all of a sudden you feel like you're almost cursing. But
Halifax.
Halifax.
I'm
It's
excited to go up there and speak to the chapter live and in person, where I can see everybody. Like I need this visual
I
feedback.
know. Yeah, this.
Get that energy.
I've done these a few times, and it's always kind of crazy to be talking to a screen for an hour.
You tell me that there's dozens or hundreds of people out there, but it's probably just us three.
There are there's 33 logged in right now, and we still
That's a
have
start.
a minute to go.
Yeah. And you just came back from overseas, right? You were in Dublin and in London.
Went to London and then went over to Dublin right on the tail end of that. So a couple of speaking engagements over there, and then came back and did Atlanta last week at an insurance brokerage firm down there in Atlanta. They had about 65 or so of their leadership team in a room, so we had them for almost an entire day.
Yeah.
Teresa, let's see, what is she saying? Let's see.
Nice.
All day.
Says, Arnie, I'm here from Memphis. Loved your book.
One reader. I'll take it. Thank you so much. That's all.
So you have 3.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I'm trending on Amazon, I'm sure. Hey, I just for those as we're building up to this, I just recorded the audio in my own voice. And so if you can imagine tolerating me for a few hours of reading, I'll read you the book while you're driving or exercising or whatever you're doing.
Is that on Audible then, Arnie?
It is not. It's not there today, but it's like I get a message that says it's immediately pending. So a little anticipation as it approaches.
Yeah, so we can
Coming soon.
broadcast that out when the time comes. Let everybody know they can go download it and listen to you. I applaud you for taking on the task of reading it yourself.
It was. They said it was hard, and it was hard.
Yeah, that was something I was not willing to do. I let somebody else do it.
You have a beautiful voice. You should read. I'll read yours. You read mine.
I just didn't want to do. I didn't want to sit in the studio for 2 damn days to do it.
Yeah, it's a chore. Hey, tell us about the graduation party. How'd that go?
Party went really well. We've got graduation coming up this weekend. So we had,
Woo.
I don't know how many people, maybe 150 people come through over in the evening and, piled up a bunch of gifts for the golden child. And he's ready to go to college now. So
Empty out that nest. I love it. done a great job. Those girls are fantastic. And your oldest one is working this summer with you, right?
Yes, she's at the office today. I'm not sure exactly what she's doing at the office, but she's doing something.
She is exhibiting greatness. I'm confident.
Kristen Sadler says, Arnie, that's great. I remember talking about recording it months ago. So excited to listen and already reading it.
Oh, thank you. So yeah, it's you listen first, and then hey, and my recommendation, as with all audiobooks, speed it up. I'll sound much better, and if not, you'll.
Good chipmunk.
All right, let's start jumping in. Some of you have already figured this out. So you've got a chat button at the bottom of the Zoom webinar. You can chat messages or questions in that way. So just bounce in. There's also a little Q&A button down there. You can always hit that and pop in a question if you want to. Lee and I will be on this side, just reviewing those, jumping in. I don't want to break Arnie's flow with a bunch of pop-ups on his screen. So I'll take those on and kind of feed those back to him. We'll cover any questions at the end that are left over. And if I see a spot during the presentation that we can ask and answer a question, otherwise we will. So just a quick introduction. I've known Arnie for what feels like half my life at this point. Arnie's in my EO forum, and we've gotten to know each other and done presentations together from stage. So I'm completely thrilled to have you on this webinar webcast going out to a ton of members today. We did put together a little intro, so I'm going to read this for you really quick. Without a clue how to run a company, it's a great way to start, right, Arnie?
You got to start somewhere.
Without a clue how to run a company, which I think most entrepreneurs start there. Arnie Malham repeatedly got it wrong when it came to hiring, firing, and everything else related to building a business. Malham then stumbled upon a bold cultural-first approach that gave his company the momentum it needed to become a success. By putting culture first, CJ Advertising grew to become the largest full-service brand building agency in the country, exclusively for law firms. CJ and a related call center business, Legal Intake Professionals, were both sold, I'm sure Arnie will talk about that, to separate buyers in 2017. Arnie then turned all his attention toward a new concept that played a role in creating successful culture growth for both companies, Better Book Club. And I know you're going to talk about that as well. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Arnie. Turn my camera off, get out of your way, and take care of business.
Thank you, Andy. And then y'all also see Allie on the screen. Allie's my executive assistant, and she is responsible for the presentation you're about to see in all its greatness, and she keeps me on track, and we have fun working on culture opportunities as well as working on Better Book Club. And so she's going to stay on with me, make sure I stay on track, and keep the slides rolling. Appreciate you all being here. This is my first ever webinar. I'm extremely nervous about it because I can't see the reaction of the thousands and thousands of people that are out there in the crowd, I'm sure cheering me forward, but I can't see you. So essentially I'm just talking to Allie, and trust me, she's heard most of this before. So just a little bit more about me. CJ Advertising is, as Andy as Andy spoke about, started in 1994 without a clue. Ran it, I would say, wrong for at least 10 years as we stumbled upon better and better ways of doing things. Finally, towards the last few years, I really think we got it right, and the team members came together and we created which and still exists, a great advertising agency led by fantastic people in a great culture here in Nashville. Legal Intake Professionals was a call center. You can't get much more simple than that, and the key we found was the longer the tenure of our team, the happier our team was, the better our clients were. And of course, that's true in every business, but in the call center, it really worked for us. And so a lot of experience there, and now really focused on Better Book Club. And we'll tell you more about that as we go. So we'll start out here, and I want to talk about our approach. And most of this comes from my time where I spent 24 years building and creating CJ Advertising. Again, an ongoing organization, still practicing most of this stuff today, if not all. And these are the three areas where we really focus. We all had a mindset towards growth. And to us, it meant that anyone that came on the team, we wanted them to leave there stronger, better, smarter in every way when they left. Now, if they stayed, that's fantastic. If they left, that's fantastic. But everyone had a mindset towards growth, and that was part of the culture that we created. We had a mindset of trust. And to us, trust was believing that everyone in the organization was there to make everyone in the organization better. And so as you came down and sat down, you said to yourself, what can I do today to make the people around me better? And what are they going to, you always knew that they were working on things to make you better. And together, again, back to the mindset of growth, we grew as a team, but we trusted that was happening. And that was so important in terms of how we moved our projects forward. And then the third thing was we had a mindset towards action, that we had a willingness, and you see the shirts we're wearing, the title of the book, we had a willingness to get it wrong on our way to getting it right. It wasn't just about getting it perfect and then maybe launching. It was about doing it, finding the mistakes, finding the problems, making it better, making it right, and pushing it forward. And so a mindset towards action was constantly on our minds. And then of every program we set up for, and I'm going to show you a half a dozen, 7 of them here coming up, but every one of them had these 3 things in common, and I think they helped make it really successful. They were all supported from the top, and they were always managed by a champion that wasn't me and wasn't on our leadership team. And so they had plenty of support from me and the leadership team. Very important, but they're always managed by a champion that was part of the organization, so that we could really get our team involved in making the culture great. The second thing is that all the programs that were introduced, and this happens, I'm sure, especially at the top of this happens in your organization. Every time we introduced a new program to our organization, it was met with a certain amount of skepticism, right? It was rarely that it worked the first time we put it in place. It just, things don't happen that easily. And they always needed time and attention, and they needed tenacity. And that's where that champion came in, someone who was going to fight for that program, and again, support from the top, so that they always knew we had their back in terms of moving forward. And that here's another attribute. They all needed these 3 things. All the programs that became successful in an organization, they had to have a champion, someone that was going to have that tenacity, that was going to take on the project. They had to have a checklist. So every time we learned an improvement, a better way, something that didn't work, we followed a checklist, and we made sure that we could repeat the process over and over again. And they all had alignment towards our core values, that the things we were doing had to match up with who we were as an organization and what we were trying to get accomplished. And so they had all those things in common. And here are some things I'm going to share with you so that you can think about, not oh, can I copy that exactly? Maybe, maybe not. But get you thinking about the things you can do in your organization to create this culture of growth, this culture of trust in your organization. So the first one, really simple, really easy, thank you cards. Like, how amazingly easy is that? And so, but you had to make a program out of it. And so what we did is we had culture branded, logoed cards that we gave to every team member right from day one. We said, hey, here's 25 cards. Your job is to appreciate the people around you when they help you, when they help a client, when they help a vendor, anything they do that you see matches up with our values and who we want to be as an organization. I want you to write them a card and make sure that they know you noticed. And you go, well, what happens to these cards? Well, after they're written, they are proudly displayed, in many cases, much more so than anything else that was served up by the industry, and certainly anything served up by me. But they were proudly displayed in cubicles and in offices. And so as you start to build this sort of culture of appreciation, it starts to feed upon itself. The more cards you see, the more cards you give, the more cards you get. And everyone knows that they are part of an organization that's growing and learning and is appreciated. And so the thank you cards, making it easy, branded, you get them from day one. There's always a stock room full of them, and it can become a part of who you are as an organization. And it just creates a lot of smiles. The second thing that we did is create a program for recognition. And what we did is we created a way that peers could nominate peers to receive public recognition in staff meetings. And so we would, every staff meeting, which was very strictly timed at 30 minutes per month, we would hand out 10 important recognitions in the form of 10 envelopes. That is my business partner, Jimmy Bewley, and he was just giving Allie there a hug because she was a recipient of one of the envelopes. The envelopes, there's 10 envelopes. 8 of them have $10 inside the envelope, along with a note. One of them has a 20, and one of the envelopes has 100, and each recipient gets to pick that envelope. And of course, they want the $100 bill. But what really worked is the recognition and the smiles, the applause the applause that came from their teammates, and the fact that they were being recognized in front of everybody. And so you got to create the system. It doesn't just happen. You got to create the envelopes. You have to have a method of people submitting, making sure there's not duplicates, weeding out the ones that, right, the top 10 come to the top, and then we bring those out. And then this is what you get, the reaction from your team about getting a thanks for busting your hump envelope from their teammates, in front of their teammates, and applauded by their teammates. And we're going to talk about it in a minute, but there's no place better for pictures like this to go as social media, because now you're broadcasting the type of culture that you have, the people you have, the smiles you have, and the way people trust and grow together. And so it's a big part. So again, we started with appreciation. The next one was recognition. We're going to tenure and our appreciation of tenure. And here's how we showed that appreciation. At 5 years of tenure, well, first of all, every year we recognized anniversaries, because as we built that anniversary, we built in sort of that momentum towards the knowledge we needed to be successful as an organization, right? We had to grow our team to be experts in our field. We were in a very narrow niche. We had to know more than our clients so that we continue to move them forward in a great direction. And so tenure was very important. And at 5 years, which happens to be 10,000 hours of service, we rewarded our very, very dedicated staff with some of the ugliest Letterman's jackets that you can imagine. Ellie, show them the jackets. There we go. There is a camel certified CJ on the sleeve, leather from the 1970s, probably Letterman's jacket. And while people didn't love the look, they loved the feeling of being recognized with a jacket. And so later they taught me, I got off my stubbornness, and we started letting our team members design their jackets. And so now they got both recognition and a jacket that they really liked. And so that's how we modified the program. But at 5 years, you got a Letterman's jacket. Why? Because you're a tenured member of the staff, and others look up to you. And that Letterman's jacket says you've earned a spot on the team, and you have 5 years of knowledge to share back with the team. So a very sort of a great recognition. Now at 10 years, we step it up a little bit, and we recognize 10 years in our organization with a Rolex watch, just like the one I'm wearing right now. And we would give that as a symbol of our appreciation towards the team members that spent now 20,000 hours being great in our organization. It was important, again, that they learn, that they grow, and that they help our clients learn and grow. And this was our gift to our team. Now, we found out over the years of running our business that not everyone appreciated a watch. Not everybody even wears a watch. Some people said, what is a watch? And so they started saying, what else could we do to help appreciate people? And of course, we said, well, what do the people want? What would be valuable to our team? Rachel grew up learning to play piano on a baby grand, and she said, hey, instead of a Rolex, which I'm probably not going to wear and probably not going to appreciate as much as I would, a baby grand piano for my kids to learn how to play piano on as they grow up. Our answer, of course, was yes. Not only did it make Rachel smile and her family think about us, and the whole staff think we were awesome, but I get to show you pictures of it here and brag about it. And so the ROI for us is great, and the ROI for Rachel is great. Now, Renee, incredible part of CJ's culture back when I was there and still now. Renee's opportunity was, she said, I love antique jewelry, and so I don't want a watch and I don't want a piano, but I would love some antique jewelry that means something to me. And so that's how we rewarded Renee for her 10 years of service, and it was good for her. So it's the right reward for the right person. First, we make them wear a jacket. We let them design it, but we make them wear a jacket, and then we give them a choice. Ryan, in his opportunity, chose artwork, the artwork that's custom artwork that was created just for him that was going in his new house. And so that was important to Ryan. And so we found a way to make it special to them. It couldn't be electronic. It couldn't be cash. It couldn't just disappear in the night, something that would last. But that's how we rewarded tenure. At 15 years, Greg was I think the first to hit his 15-year mark. And Greg took his then girlfriend to Italy. She soon became his fiance, and now they're married and just had a baby here recently, just beautiful. And so that set Greg off on his journey. I like to take credit for it. I shouldn't deserve any credit, but he went on his 15 years, and then about 5 other teammates have followed him since on their 15-year journey. Again, a way to recognize tenure. All right, so the next thing that was appreciation, recognition, and tenure, we're going to talk about growth. And we found that Better Book Club, this is the commercial part of the presentation, by the way, but we found over the years that Better Book Club was the #1 way to grow our team. It was the least expensive, it was the most efficient, and it was the most effective. And it was simply by recognizing and rewarding reading within the organization and to encourage it. The first 3 books that really made a difference in my life, and this was post-college, were these 3 books: Swim with the Sharks by Harvey Mackay, All Marketers Are Liars by Seth Godin, and Rich Dad, Poor Dad were 2 extremely influential books in my life. Now, they weren't the last books I read. They were the first 3 books I read on now a journey of about 190 books that I've read. And what I tell you about this because I want you to think about the difference the first 2 or 3 really good business books made in your life, and the difference that these same books can make in the lives of your team members and your teammates. That I submit to you that creating a mindset towards reading makes a huge difference for the individual and therefore makes a huge difference for your business. And so those 3 books for me became a dozen and then more dozens, and we ended up with a bookshelf about like this that you're seeing on your screen now. And inside those books, we started writing numbers, 25, 50, 75, or 100, and we determined that we would pay our team members up the value of those points. So we would pay team members, they could earn up to $100 a quarter by reading books. And you go, wow, that's a ton of money. Yes, it's a ton of money, but compared to sending that same team member to a conference far away with hotels and airlines and drinks and dinners, and they come back remembering just a fraction of it, the cost of reading a book to the company was a bargain compared to the cost of a conference, and the retention, I would argue, is tenfold of a book than you would have at a conference. And so we found it to be a remarkable return on investment. And so look back up, Allie, too. Again, we had a wide variety of books. There's no book that we wouldn't include. If it improved you as a human being, then we felt it valuable to reward you for reward and recognize you for reading it. And so we encouraged the reading of anything, because better people made better team, made better company, made better clients, and it all worked together. So there's the bookshelf. If we've pushed forward, we also had meetings, not, by the way, meetings where everyone talked about the same book. We had meetings where everyone talked about a different book. By the way, in case I know I'm going way fast, but I want to make clear, this is not a read what I tell you book club. This is a read whatever you want book club. And the biggest mistake I think business leaders make is they always want to tell people what to read. Stop telling people what to read. Just read, recognize, and reward anyone who reads anything that makes them better, and the learning will flow. You'll get more books and brains. Let them read anything, anytime, any way they want, recognize and reward it. And that's what Better Book Club is all about. And so we get together in meetings, we talk about the different books we read, the different perspectives in the room. We put these posters together so that we could recognize the most read books, so that if we all wanted to come together and talk about one book, we know who read it, we know when they read it, we know what their opinion of it was. But we also knew the most popular books in the company, and we kept up with how much money we spent as a way to help remind ourselves that this is really important in our culture. We told vendors about this, we told prospects about this, we told future team members about this, so that they know we really appreciated growth and we paid our people to read. And so we ran this for about 7 or 8 years in the company. We actually built a program behind it to let us keep up with all the numbers, because we had a lot of team members that were reading a lot of books. And of course, this is available now to other companies. We currently have 100 companies around the globe using the software with about 5,000 users. And we feel like we're doing our part to get as many books and brains of those people as we possibly can. We're going through a renovation of the software. We actually have a meeting all day tomorrow to talk about how to make this software better. And so if you're using the software, thanks for your patience. And if you're thinking about using it, sign up now. And our goal is to roll you into something that's going to work even better as we push this program forward. So Better Book Club, that's what I'm pushing now because it works, because it makes a huge difference in the lives of our teammates. Excuse me. Thank you.
Now I'm a Better Book Club champion, so if you have any questions about Better Book Club, feel free to reach out to me. I'm the success manager at Better Book Club.
And has worked with dozens and dozens of companies and made their book clubs rock. Thank you, Allie. Okay, next thing, onboarding checklist. You may or may not have a list of programs that recognize reward, push tenure, push growth, but no matter how many you have, we want to make sure we're onboarding people in the best possible way. And so what we developed was a checklist that is given to the new team member on day one and becomes their responsibility to make sure that they are learning everything they can possibly learn, have access to everything they have access to across our organization. This came about because one day a team member about 90 days in said that they didn't know about one of our programs. I'm like, how is that possible? Well, it's possible because no one told them. Like this, wow, shocking, right? And so we said, hey, how do we prevent someone getting to day 90 without knowing about certain things in our culture? And so we developed this checklist. And it's simple things on here. Like on page 1, it's just, hey, did you get the proper tour of the facilities? Do you know where everything is? Do you know where the mailroom is? Do you know where the bathrooms are, how the kitchen works, where people put their stuff, where's the back? Easy stuff, like what we call different areas. And so there's a checklist for that. And then on the other page, we start to get into some of the programs, the FISH program, the Better Book Club program, some of our benefits, making sure that you go and the new person knows who to go meet with. They check a box, they get their initials, and it sets everything in motion. And so this when we think of something new, it goes on the checklist. If we take something away, it comes off the checklist. As we learn more, the checklist helps us keep everything aligned and ready to roll. So if whatever you're doing, start your checklist. If you don't have a lot to put on there, you got some room to grow. If you find out you have way too much, there might be some room to shrink, but the checklist will help you figure that out. And it certainly did a great job for us. This is the next thing. So you're doing all the things that you can in your company, and what I want to talk about is how you circulate that learning. What do you do with the learning events, the opportunities that you give your team members? And so this is a fantastic way. Every time we had any kind, whether someone left the building to go get training somewhere or to go to a conference, or we did in-house work, we took pictures, we created headlines, and we put it on social media. We want to make all of the work that the development work we do for our team remarkable, worth talking about, and we want friends and family members of everyone working at our organization to know that we care about growth, and we're constantly tweeting and posting about the things we're learning and doing. By the way, who else sees this? Our clients see this, and they realize that we're working hard to stay ahead of the curve, to keep learning, to keep growing, because as my second ever client told me, he said, they're going to grow their business, and if I don't grow my business, then I'm going to get left behind. And so same thing with our team members. Grow your team, as grows the team, member, as grows the team, and as grows the business. And so it's important that we constantly push out what we're doing to develop our team members so that we can not only have a culture of growth, but broadcast a culture of growth. And that goes for internal as well. We would create posters of the training and the opportunities that we had throughout the year. We would put them on this giant poster, and we would put that poster right in the lobby. And that's so that vendors can see that we're serious about growing our people, that our clients can see that we're serious about growing our people, that their friends and family members of our team members can see that we're serious about growing our people, and that it's, again, part of who we are. If it's important to you, there's a spot on the wall for it, and this is a premium spot that everyone sees when they walk in our building. So that's a little bit about broadcasting your growth. And then finally, R&D. This is my favorite old person joke, but I talk about R&D, which means rip off and duplicate. I stole that joke from Cameron Harold about 12 years ago and owe him a lot of payback on it, but it's a great joke. Hey, R&D, rip off and duplicate. Where is the best place to rip off and duplicate? And I would argue it is touring businesses that have cultures that you want to emulate. Like, go see companies that are killing it in culture, and let your team members go see companies that are killing it in culture, so that you can bring back an idea or three that you can eventually adopt into your own program, or modify just enough to make it yours. Now, we just threw up some logos that happen to be Petra members and Better Book Club members and friends of ours throughout the world. But the company you need to R&D from could be right next door. They could be right across town, and they certainly can be in another part of the world. But go see other companies, walk their halls, get the tour, which also means, by the way, folks, that you need to be tour ready in your business. If a friend comes over, then a tour is appropriate. And if you can't give a tour on any day and time, then think about what that says about your business. And so be ready to give tours and go out and seek tours. And here's the absolute bet behind the bet. Send your team members out to get to see tours of other businesses and bring back the ideas that will work for you. And so it's appreciation, it's recognition, it's tenure, it's growth, it's checklist to keep you on track, it's promotion of everything you do in every way you can, both externally and internally, and it's R&D. And so those 7 things helped us be tremendously successful to take ideas from others, make them our own, and make them part of who we are. We know for a fact, and this is something I learned from John DeJulius many years ago, before my experience with John, I was constantly trying to create, to will a culture forward. And then when John told me these 3 words, that culture reflects leadership, it changed everything about how I was approaching my role as a leader. I realized that whatever culture I had in the organization was up to me. It wasn't that I needed a better team. It wasn't that I needed more clients or needed to make more money. It's that I needed to be a better leader. And in this discussion that I'm having with you, because I'm confident that of the thousands listening, not everyone says, well, I'm not at the top of the org chart. It doesn't matter where you are. Leadership is not where you are on the org chart. Leadership is about how much people respect you. And if people respect you, guess what? You're a leader, and culture reflects leadership. And so I want to challenge you to think about what you can do as a respected leader in your organization to create not the culture you wish you had, or not the culture that you have, but the culture that you most wish you had. And I've submit to you that it's up to you. No matter who you are listening, the culture around you is up to you. If people respect you, you are a leader. And I've seen people from all parts of the organization make a huge difference for themselves and the team around them. And so I want you to, but I also know this, you have to practice being a leader. You have to constantly walk in every day and say, what am I going to do to practice being a good leader today? And here's number 1 thing to practice. I want you to practice being a leader of transparency in your organization. Now, I'm going to talk about some things that we found were important and not important to us. You may be ready for this discussion, or you may be several steps from this discussion. But when it comes to creating transparency, I believe that's where the answers come from. And so I want you to listen for the following. I want you to listen for people on your team to say, our team has no idea about blank. Like they're missing the boat somewhere. And your response, this is your practice leadership, is maybe we should tell them. I hear more and more people say, oh, they have no idea how much we spend on this. They have no idea how much we spend on that. They have no idea how much work. They have no idea what our clients are thinking. Maybe we should tell them, because then they'll know. We want people to make good decisions. We want people to make the decisions we would make. Then they have to have the information to have those decisions. Consider telling them the information they need, even if you don't think they need it. More information is better. I want you to listen for people with unique ideas and perspectives, right? I want you to think when you hear something that you don't agree with, or you're not used to, or makes you uncomfortable, your response needs to be, tell me more. Learn more about their idea and perspective. Do not shut them down. Practice these 3 words. They're magical. Tell me more does more to extend ideas than anything else that you can say, or we certainly found that to be true. And when you hear, we can't do that, your response needs to be, why not? And then you get to listen again. Because when they say, we can't do that, and you say, why not, you may hear the following. You may hear, because I said so. And I would argue with you that that's not a real answer. That's the answer that you might give a very young person in your family, which is still not appropriate. But because I said so is not a real answer. You may hear, that's how we've always done it. And I would say that's not a legit answer. Like that how we've always done it is not an answer. That's just an excuse. And then finally, they won't understand. Ugh, that's one of my least favorite. And I believe it's an elitist answer. I hate when people say they won't understand. If you understand, then they'll probably understand. Like, let's give them the information they need so they will understand. And so do not accept these answers as you practice that leadership. On the next one, I want you to practice being a leader of flexibility in your organization. Again, a topic that every company is not ready for, but I want you to begin walking down this trail. What we found as we practice flexibility in our organization is that we were better off with guidelines that promoted flexibility, guidelines for the many that promoted flexibility and trust in our organization. And we were able to eliminate rules and policies. Rules and policies, we found every time one person would do one thing that was not the perfect thing in our organization, we'd create a rule to manage that behavior. And after years of business, we found we had a lot of rules, most of which no one even knew about. And we had a policy manual with more pages than we had people reading the policy manual, which is, I think, is when you know you're completely upside down. And so one day, and it's a long story, but I decided we're not having a policy manual anymore. We're going to have some guidelines that the majority can follow. And then we have a problem with the minority. We're going to deal with that one problem offline. We're not going to have rules and policies to manage everyone. We're going to have guidelines for that. And we found that it freed up so much time and energy that it was a win on both sides, both for leadership and the entire team. And we created those guidelines. We put them on these very simple pieces of paper, and we put them right in the middle of the office so that everyone could find what they weren't flipping through page 74 to figure out where to put their soup in the kitchen. Like, we just got rid of all of that and went down to some very simple guidelines. By the way, all of these are available on my website at www.worthdoingwrong.com/resources. You can download our complete guidelines. And by the way, when you do, don't be disappointed. We did it with as few words as possible. You're seeing the front of the sheet there, but the back doesn't have many more words. We left a lot open to interpretation because we trusted our people. We knew we were growing together, and we knew that we would best get there together with guidelines and not with rules. And so practice flexibility. And so things that we found mattered a little less to us than they did in my first years of business. It started mattering less what we wore. It mattered less when we worked. Like, we realized that sometimes people do their best work in strange hours. We figured out it mattered less where we work. Like, some people need to be off on their own. They could work from a coffee shop. They could work from home. Not everyone. By the way, not everything we did was right for everyone, but we were fair with everyone. And we found that what you wear, when you work, and where you work weren't as important always as some of the other things. We also found that always following the norm and the rules and the herd wasn't always in everyone's best interest. That sometimes being in that discomfort zone, just like I am right now, this is the most uncomfortable thing in the world, speaking to Allie, again, who's heard all of this before, and I can't see your faces, but I'm uncomfortable, but I'm learning and I'm growing, and I wish that for your team. Here's some things we found that were more important, and the kind of things we built our guidelines around, and the kind of things we practiced in the organization. We found that growth was important. I've talked a lot about it on this call. Just worked real hard to create systems that not only support your personal growth and development, but also supports the growth and development of others on the team. If you're growing alone, whether you're the leader or you were just hired yesterday, if you're growing alone, it is lonely, and it is a street that can't get you where you're going. Like, so not only do you have to grow, but you have to support the growth of others, and you have to have a willingness, we've found, to get it wrong on your way to getting it right. But here's the even harder one. You had to have a willingness for others to get it wrong on their way to getting it right. Like, it's not, oh, you can get it wrong, but not them. Come on. Be willing to grow yourself, be willing to grow others, and be willing to let them make the mistakes. My kids' first grade teachers always told me, prepare the kid for the path, not the path for the kid. And so part of that is letting them make the mistakes they need to figure out life as they move forward. And so we found that these things really mattered a lot to us, along with the fact that everything we did had to have an alignment with our company's values and our vision and our mission. We couldn't be doing things on one side of the house that didn't support the other side of the house. And so everything had to line up with our values of confidence, growth, respect, and optimism. And so we just constantly pushed our programs around those opportunities. And then finally, I want you to practice being a leader of action in your organization. This is about, again, the willingness to get things wrong on your way to getting it right. We all tend to judge others by their actions, but we tend to judge ourselves by our intentions. I meant to do that. Like, I really meant to do that, and so therefore I'm a good person. But you didn't do it. And if you look at others around you, it's what they do, not what they intend to do. And so you really got to practice in your mind your willingness to actually take action. And you got to think about the things holding you back. Most typically is that I don't want to do it wrong. And I'm here to challenge that. Be willing to get it wrong on your way to getting it right, and everything moves faster. You see in the background there a huge pallet of Charmin toilet paper, and you're like, why is that there? And I'll tell you why it's there, is because we had to learn in our organization that good toilet paper usually ended up making the staff much happier than like 20 other things we were doing, right? But we had to be willing to do it. And you can't, by the way, you can't buy Charmin from the normal office supply places. You got to go outside of that, and someone's got to have the freedom to go make that happen. And those things are what run your staff forward. Will toilet paper change your life? I don't know, but it was a big hit when we introduced it in our organization. So be willing to take action in your organization. And at the end of the day, I want you to ask yourself these questions. What actions are you taking to grow yourself, support the growth of others, and cheer for the success of your organization? And if you can't make a list of things you're doing to do these 3 things, you're not doing enough. Make the list, whether it's 1 thing or 12 things, and keep rocking that list forward. You can't grow enough, you can't encourage grow enough, and you can't cheer for your organization enough. It makes a big difference. The momentum of you doing these things and taking action will move everyone forward. I want you to think about how closely your company culture reflects your leadership, the respect others have for you, and the difference you can make. And finally, whether that list is 1 thing, 2 things, or you want to add to it, or you have intentions to, the bottom line is this: what are you going to do about it? Culture reflects leadership, and leadership is up to you. And I'm talking to you, even though I can't see you. I know you can see me. I'm talking to you. Find the actions that make a difference for your organization inside of you, and project the person you want to be, and get the company where you want to get it. I'm Arnie Malham. I appreciate you listening to me these 30 or so odd minutes, and I hope you have some questions that I can dig into before I go cry about how nervous I am right now. Thank you.
You did a great job.
Yay! That was awesome.
You can only hear us. And you got a couple of messages that said you're doing a great job along the path as well. I just didn't want to interrupt you. I started to text you on the side, but I thought that might throw you off your game. We have a couple of questions in the inbox, and you guys please put those in the chat box, and we can get those over to Arnie. So talk about remote team members. So do you have any recommendations for activities to foster culture in a company where many team members work remotely or operate in different satellite offices?
Yeah, I got 3 points on that. One is, don't let them be forgotten. And so we had a system in place, a champion in place, a program in place, that anytime we had an event in office, then we sent something to the remote, whether it was a gift card or a thank you or a handwritten note, wish you could be here, something that says, hey, you're a part of this. I know you're not here, but you're a part of our team. That's number 1. Number 2 is, you got to invest in the technology that puts people in the same place as often as possible, right? They got to feel like it's easy to be in touch and not hard. And what I used to be so afraid of visual technology, like no cameras. And now I feel like I'm not even talking to someone like here unless I can see them. And so invest in the technology to pull people together. And then here's the third thing. Equal and fair are 2 different things. Just because someone is on-site, off-site, we had team members that absolutely could not work from home based on the technology they needed to work, or even the fact that they were the front desk receptionist, or that we didn't have the same be able to consolidate materials. But there was a reason they couldn't be remote. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't make it fair for no one to be remote. And so we would just look at every position different and understand that there are trade-offs in everything. And then we even found that some people, we'd ask them to be remote. They'd say, no way, I'd get nothing done. And other people, it doubled their capacity. So I think the bottom line is make sure you have programs, checklists, and champions in place to make remote worker team members feel like just team members, which is what we want.
Awesome. Very cool. Leah's got a couple of questions that came in as well.
All right. The first one was, in the intro, they mentioned that you had no idea how to run a company. What were your best resources in figuring out your way during that process?
Oh, yeah, books, like I would read, well, first of all, I'm an EO member. And so not everyone has that privilege, but I got to go learn from the very best. But I learned even more from the great books, Good to Great, Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell stuff. I mean, and I don't want to tell you what to read. I've got some books on Worth Doing Wrong. There's some settings for the 5 best books for starting a company, the 5 best books for culture, the 5 best books for personal growth. Like, you can start there if you want, but something happens when you read, and it's not just what you read and that goes in and you're like a computer and so that's all you know. For most people, it's how their mind works when they're reading, the ideas that come to you as you're reading. Like, people even remember things differently, or they have different takeaways from books. It's because our minds are differently. And so the key is reading. And you say, well, I'm not a big reader. I'm not either. I listen to books. Andy reads at a much quicker pace than me. I'm reading about 1 book a month. But if you think about the compound effect, which is a great book, by the way, the compound effect of reading 1 book a month, or even a quarter over a 4 or 5 year period, it is shocking where your mind can go and the difference you can make for yourself, your family, and your team. It's just amazing. And I don't remember, I went to Ole Miss, and so I don't know how much I learned there anyway, but I don't remember a lot. But my education came from the business books I read that were the topics I needed at the time. I want to stress and stress and stress. Stop telling people what to read and stop letting people tell you what to read. Read what speaks to you in the time, and your mind will process that at a very different place than when you have to read something.
Awesome. And the Alabama fan in the room just went crazy.
Hey, there are years, 1 in a dozen that our world works out.
All right. So do you have any specific examples of team bonding or team building events that your company has done?
Oh, wow. We left out a bunch of slides on events and stuff that we've done. Allie, you may have to help me think of some. I mean, sometimes we just have a fair in the parking lot. We just take a break off work and go, play games and have a beverage and hang out together. And those are as good as anything. Other times we'd all go to a baseball game together. Allie, what can you think of?
Yeah, I was gonna say baseball games, fish teams. So like really any event that happens, the final four, basketball tournaments, fish team did a lot to celebrate anything. Leadership supported the fish team. So, we were able to take a small portion of our budget to go offsite as a team building experience. And they let us make those decisions, what we wanted to do, not what they wanted to do. So we could take our crazy ideas to Arnie and let him know we want to have a dunk tank and we want to dunk all of leadership out in the parking lot. And so they supported that for us.
And even internally, Allie, we made people's days. Like fish is the concept out of Seattle where we make work fun. We don't have fun at work, we make work fun. And we had a lot of programs where we made people's day, and nothing brought a team together more than making someone else's day, whether that they had a tough week and we brought them back to happiness, or they've been doing an awesome job and we want to show our appreciation. So a group of people surrounding a teammate, making their day in a way that is unique and special, that did as much probably to create a team frame as anything we did.
All right.
Yeah, and our Better Book Club meetings were awesome. They brought a lot of cross-departmental communication together. So you get a lot of people in a room once a month from all departments that could talk and catch up during the book club meeting.
All right. Well, we've got time for like 10 minutes of questions left. So everybody make sure you get those in. We still have a couple more coming in. One was, how do you encourage employees to take full advantage of the cultural and learning aspects that you want to implement?
I would say that we did three things. We made sure that everything that was important to our culture was on the wall in our organization or easily accessible electronically. And I mean really easily accessible, because if it was important to us, then we wanted to display it. And people say, oh, well, we don't ever, there's always room for more on the wall, right? It's always room. And in fact, moving it around some usually helps. And so we always displayed it on the wall. Number two, the things that were important to us and that were big parts of our culture, like fish and like book club and the recognition and appreciation, we always featured those things in our monthly meeting. Now, that doesn't mean we had long meetings. We were very strict on 30-minute meetings because that no one wants a long meeting. But we included the things that were important to us, not things that we could repeat in email, but things that were important to us, that were the human stories and experiences that were a result of our culture, so that people could get on board. And then I'll go back to what we always talked about, is that every program needs support from the top and a champion from the team, and then a checklist and a willingness to get it wrong. If more programs fail because bosses like me go to a conference or read a book and come back in the organization and say, this is what we're doing, and this is what we're doing never gets done because they try to do it themselves. I get told all the time, oh, we're going to do better book club, I'm going to do it myself, and I know it's going to fail. No leadership team member can drive culture the way a champion can, but no champion can drive that culture unless they have the support of leadership. And so we got to find that marriage. We got to bring on a checklist. We have to create a willingness to get it wrong on the way to do it right. And we have to have tenacity. We have to stick with things more than a quarter. Usually most programs take about 3 quarters to get going. And once you give them 3 quarters, you're off and running.
Hey, Arnie, this kind of feeds into that. Mark Lancaster, who's created a great culture in his business himself, ties back to what you just said with making sure that champions are driving this. How many things can you implement per quarter, per year?
1, if you're a rock star, if you're the best of the best and you get 1 done, oh my gosh, it's such an applause. And I think that people come back and they go, we're going to do these 3 things. You got other priorities. Look, we're Petra clients too. We know how priorities that actually generate revenue and challenges to your team. And then in this one culture thing, if you can initiate and get 1 thing rolling, knowing that even if you do 4 a year, one's probably not going to be right for you. It's not going to have the right everything. And so it's not everything you start's going to. So, but my gosh, after a few years, again, the compound effect is what you're looking for. Too much too soon, everyone's rolling their eyes. Just enough to get things moving.
All right, so 1 per quarter, 4 per year, making sure that they are getting the results that you want. Don't give up on them too quickly. Give them at least 3 quarters to get, kind of into the culture as it goes.
Yeah, with metrics. Like you need metrics, because there'll be someone on your team that even after 3 or 4 quarters go, I just don't think that's working. Well, what do the metrics say about that? What were the target metrics? What were we trying to achieve? Just because one person doesn't like it. And look, we have plenty of people that weren't big readers, and so they kind of, not always support Better Book Club, but it didn't mean the program wasn't great for the organization. How many books are we getting in brains? And is it more than last quarter? And is it building? And are we creating habits? And that can be said about any program. Are we making a difference? How many notes of appreciation? How many times are we recognizing people? If you're recognizing your staff, one of the things we started doing was charting who got recognized, because we didn't want to be an 80-20 rule, that 20% of our team was getting 80% of the recognition. And by the way, that's your manager's job. Your manager's job and your leadership job is not to run these programs, but they're to make sure that the programs have the right KPIs to make them work. And so we would make sure, and if someone wasn't getting regular recognition, it's either A, we got a manager problem, or B, we got a performance problem, and we need to address either one of them.
All right. It's unmuted.
Okay.
All right, Arnie, we got one more question. Has allowing employees to make their own mistakes ever negatively impacted the business, and how did you handle that?
Oh, that's a good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, this reminds me of I do this preaching, I get all excited and someone says, have you ever done anything wrong? I do everything wrong. And by the way, team members get things wrong too. Your job as a leader, and again, not top of the org chart leader, but someone respecting the organization, is to support that person no matter what. Now, if they're not learning from their challenges, then that's a whole nother coaching opportunity. But none of us come to work every day. Nobody on your team comes to work every day and says, I'm going to screw this up and I'm going to smile about it. Like that's not, we know that's not what's happening. Mistakes are made, things happen, and there's an opportunity to learn, and you can't, there's no amount of money that can buy that sort of learning. And so embrace it. We would often in staff meetings, we would call out challenges and we would let the team support that person, knowing that we're on our way to getting it right. And so absolutely, it cost us money. It's cost us clients. It's cost us team members. And by the way, I've done all those things and more. I've made really dumb mistakes in my company that's cost us clients, that's cost us money, and cost us teammates. I talk about some of those things in the book because I know it happens to everybody. But the learning from that, just surviving those things, makes us a stronger business. And I know it'll make you a stronger individual. This goes, by the way, for your family. More than anything else, support your family, team members, to know that they're going to get things wrong on their way to getting it right. And your job is to support that, not to push it back.
So to think about that a second, those mistakes are really an investment in that particular individual's ability to perform in the future. So if you look at investment,
and like anyone, you don't want to make the same investment over and over and over. But as long as you see growth, then put your arms around that person and help them to the next level, as they will help you to the next level.
All right, that gets us to kind of the end of our time frame here. I do want to end. I've got one comment on here I think you need to hear, Arnie and Allie. So it says, thank you for doing this webinar. I had a rough morning, and you in this webinar have lifted my spirits for a meeting I have to go to this afternoon. So, yeah, exactly. So well done. Arnie's book, Worth Doing Wrong. Pick up a copy if you don't already have one. If you have one, go read it. Put together book club in your organization. Many of you have done that. Some of you have talked about doing it. Allie and her team are available to support you in making sure that goes wildly. Is a wild success for you. If we can do anything in the future, please let us know. Arnie, Allie, thanks for being here today.
We do have this webinar recorded, and we'll be putting it on the website and sending out a follow-up so that you can show it to your teams or share it with whoever you want.
Very cool. Till next time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Petra.
Thank you, Allie.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Arnie.